The new Specialized Epic Evo is kind of like adding a slice of fried halloumi to your bacon and egg roll. Underneath it all, it's still the same bacon and egg roll, just made a little bit more tasty and with even wider appeal. Now, when we reviewed the S-Works version of the Epic earlier this year, it blew us away. It is a superb cross-country race bike. Specialized have made wholesale changes to the Epic this year, improved geometry, improved suspension, a far lighter and stiffer frame than ever before. It is an absolute dream cross-country race bike, but because it is such an XC race bike, it did have a fairly brutal edge. It's quite hard on the body, particularly with the brain damper in the fork. Now, the Evo is quite a different beast. The frame is identical to the other Epics. It is still 100 mils of travel. It's still using the brain suspension system. It is still exactly as you would find on their cross-country race bike. Now, the differences between this bike and the standard Epic is that the Evo model, if we start at the front, has a more aggressive front tyre, a ground control tyre rather than the fast track. So already you've got a little bit more bite. The biggest change is probably the fork, however. Now, the Evo version of the Epic runs a Fox 34 step cast fork. It's 120 millimeters of travel too, but most importantly is that it is buttery smooth. So that harshness that we experienced with the brain fork is totally gone. Now, putting a longer travel fork on it obviously will slacken the head angle too. Got a wider handlebar than you would find on the traditional Epic as well. And of course, you drop a seat post. And those are the main differences between this bike and the conventional Epic. So you're really looking at front tyre, fork, dropper post. So not huge differences, but definitely enough to very much change the character of this bike. And we are stoked to see those changes. Of course, we love the Epic as a cross-country race bike, but how often are you really racing cross-country? You know, you can't race every single weekend. You're probably spending 10% of your time on the racetrack. The rest of the time you're out riding trails. Because you've still got the brain out back and it's still a very, very light bike, you're probably only talking about 1 kilogram more than the conventional Epic. It is definitely still capable of hitting the racetrack. When we look at the price tag of this bike, we can't help but think that the value isn't exactly where it needs to be really competitive in this market. At over 7 grand, it's a bit of a disappointment to see a alloy bar, an X-Fusion dropper post, and just a SRAM GX drivetrain. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff, but for that price, we do feel like it could do with some higher end componentry. That said, you are getting some lovely carbon Raval wheels and you're getting a gorgeous full carbon frame. We've been spending a lot more time on cross-country bikes recently, bikes like the SB100, the Intense Sniper XC, all new school cross-country bikes that offer a little bit more performance on the trail and away from the racetrack, which is why we're stoked to put the Specialized Epic Evo into the mix to see how it stacks up.